All right. Yeah. So let's start. So first, I want to talk briefly on Poly network on arbitrary code execution. So I think now the world has probably known what happened on Poly network. That there's probably the largest hack on DeFi ever. So what happened? Underlying on what happened, a lot of it relies around a certain function on the smart contract that allows some sort of arbitrary code execution. So a user can pass in, not really a user, but more like an admin can pass in some sort of arbitrary code to execute a certain function that is not published on a smart contract. So this is useful for like upgradable smart contract. Like you want to do certain things that originally you not planned for, then you have some sort of a placeholder function that you can pass in arbitrary code so they can execute that way. Of course, it's locked down to only a certain key individuals. And what happened is that the hacker kind of found that I can exploit it in a certain way, and I can pass in my code to execute it in my way. So that allows the hacker to drain the fund of Poly network. So that is not quite a new thing in terms of cybersecurity or like IT security. So it's known as arbitrary code execution. So what that means is that you're like in a non-blockchain world, like you have a CPU, or you have your computer, or you have your app even. Like you want to make sure that only the privileged app can execute certain things that within that space. You do not want to allow like other apps to execute things that are from the other app, or other processors execute things from the other processors that are not related. So that's called like remote code execution and also arbitrary code execution. So for certain things, like you can type in a certain code and then it try to parse it in a certain way, and it results in a certain thing that are unexpected. For example, like SMS, it's one great example. I saw it, a user tweeted about it, like because I was giving an analogy on that, and I tweeted about it. Sorry, I forgot the name on top of my head, but that's a great analogy from that user. I'm sure like you guys can pull it out. That he gave analogy that DeFiChain is like the Nokia of phones, and then like a EVM is like the smartphone of these days. That I think it's a really really good analogy, because on an old like non-smartphone like a 2G phone, like you get to do calls and you get to SMS and that's it. What it doesn't do anything. The SMS sent to you, it just show it on the screen, doesn't do any parsing, doesn't do any smart thing, doesn't do any handling behind it. But for smartphone, it does certain handling. So when you send SMS to the phone, it stores it this way, it passes it this way. And we have seen cases where SMS alone can result in certain arbitrary code execution on Android in the past, because it deals in a certain way. Like it's totally unexpected. It's not meant to do that, but because it reads the message and it passes in a certain way, then it can do that. Like on a Nokia phone, you can't do that because there's no such layer to even do that. It doesn't read and it doesn't understand, and it just show it on the screen. That's it. Like on Android, it's a full Turing complete layer that can do everything. So with this philosophy, this is what we do DeFiChain. DeFiChain, there is no Turing complete layer for you to run all sorts of code. So the functions or transaction type is basically what it does. It doesn't mean that it's bug free. It can be bugged, but it would not allow any arbitrary code execution. So you can like call like a swap, and then it does a certain like thing that drains the I mean it does a certain unexpected thing that you do not expect of. There's no such Turing complete layer. So I hope that explains a little bit more, and I really like that analogy.
Yeah,
Thanks.
nice.
I think that's very good that you mentioned it today, because yesterday in the news show we had exactly this question. What's our comment on that hack? So I think it's really cool that you got a little bit more into detail. So in short, nothing to worry about. That's a good thing about non-Turing complete. It's pretty basic. It's pretty rudimental in some way, and far safer, right? That's the message for the non so technical people out there. Okay, cool.